Rich man says, in a foreign language, to humiliate the farmer. He never expected this reply. The reply came in flawless Mandarin. I understood every word you just said, and your pronunciation is terrible. Robert Chen's face went white, then red, then white again. He'd just spent 5 minutes mocking the farmer in Chinese, calling him backward, uneducated, a peasant who didn't understand modern agriculture. The farmer had stood there the whole time, silent, expressionless, letting Robert dig his hole deeper. Now Robert was standing in that hole, and it was very deep. But let's back up, start from the beginning, understand how we got here. 3 weeks earlier, Cedar County, Iowa, March 2024. Robert Chen arrives from California, 38 years old, tech money, lots of it. Sold his company for $40 million. Now he wants to be a gentleman farmer. He's looking at properties, big ones, 1,000 acres minimum. Plans to run a modern operation, automated equipment, precision agriculture, corporate farming done right. His real estate agent brings him to the Morrison place. 800 acres, good soil, fair price. The neighboring farmer is working his field. Old Ford tractor, simple equipment, traditional methods. Robert watches him for a moment, shakes his head. That's exactly what's wrong with American agriculture, he tells his agent in English. Inefficient, outdated. No wonder small farms are failing. The agent nods, agrees. Anything to make the sale. They walk the Morrison property. Robert's impressed. Good drainage, level ground, perfect for his plans. I'll take it, he says. Full price, cash offer. Deal closes in 2 weeks. Robert's now a landowner. His California friends think it's quaint. His business partners think it's a tax write-off. Robert thinks it's an investment and a hobby, and proof he can succeed at anything. He shows up with a semi-truck full of equipment. Brand new John Deere 8R series tractor, 400 horsepower, $500,000, GPS guided, auto steer, every modern feature, planter to match, combined to match, everything new, everything expensive, everything impressive. The neighboring farmer is still working his old Ford, still using his simple equipment. Robert ignores him. Peasant farmer, not worth his time. Planting season starts. Robert's automated equipment works perfectly. Straight rows, perfect spacing. Precision agriculture at its finest. He's pleased. This farming thing is easy when you have money and technology. The neighboring farmer plants too. Slower, less precisely. Traditional methods. Robert drives by one day, sees the farmer fixing a broken planter, stops to watch. The farmer looks up, nods, goes back to work. Robert can't help himself. Pulls out his phone, calls his friend in California, speaks in Mandarin. You should see this guy, using equipment from the 1970s, breaking down every day. This is why American agriculture can't compete with China. The farmer keeps working, doesn't look up. Robert continues, gets more arrogant, more insulting. These farmers are dinosaurs. They don't understand efficiency, don't understand scale. They'll all be gone in 10 years, and people like me will own everything. The farmer tightens a bolt, tests the planter, stands up, still doesn't say anything. Robert smirks, drives away. Summer comes. Robert's crops look good. His technology is working. 800 acres of perfect corn. The farmer's crops look good too, not as perfect, but good. Robert's impressed with himself. First year farming and he's already succeeding. Then July hits, drought, no rain for 3 weeks, temperatures over 95. Robert's corn starts stressing. He has irrigation equipment, but it's not installed yet. Won't be ready until next year. The farmer's corn looks better, not great, but better. Robert drives over one evening. Finds the farmer checking his fields. How is your corn handling the drought? Robert asks in English. The farmer looks at him, considers. Doing okay, planted deeper. Roots are finding moisture. I should have planted deeper. Yes, direct, not unkind, just honest. Robert feels irritated. This peasant farmer is succeeding where his technology is struggling. He switches to Mandarin, speaks to his business partner on the phone while standing right there. This drought is killing me. But this old farmer's corn looks fine, probably doesn't even understand why. Just luck, generational knowledge he can't explain. The farmer walks away, checks another part of his field. Robert feels superior. The farmer doesn't even know he's being discussed. August, harvest approaches. Robert's yield projections are down. The drought hurt. He'll still profit, but not as much as planned. The farmer's projections are better, not amazing, but consistent. Robert's frustrated. His first year isn't the triumph he expected. County Extension Office hosts a meeting. Agricultural techniques, water conservation, soil health. Robert attends. Wants to learn what went wrong. The speaker is introduced. Local farmer, 40 years experience, expert in sustainable agriculture. The speaker is the neighboring farmer. Robert sits in the back, shocked. The farmer speaks for an hour about soil structure, root depth, plant genetics, water retention. Traditional techniques that work better than modern methods in certain conditions. He's articulate, knowledgeable, experienced. He's not a peasant, he's an expert. Robert feels something unfamiliar. Humility, embarrassment. After the meeting, people crowd around the farmer, asking questions, seeking advice. Robert approaches, extends his hand. I'm Robert Chen. I bought the Morrison place. You're my neighbor. I know. I'm James Sullivan. Been farming here 43 years. Your presentation was impressive. Thank you. They talk. Robert asks about the drought, about planting depth, about soil preparation. James answers, patiently, thoroughly, like he's talking to a student, not a competitor. Robert appreciates it, but also feels condescended to. He switches to Mandarin again, calls his wife. I'm talking to the neighbor farmer. He knows his stuff, but he's still small-time, old-fashioned. Eventually, scale will win. Technology will win. He'll retire and people like me will take over. James keeps talking, explaining crop rotation, explaining soil biology. Robert thinks he doesn't understand, thinks his private conversation is private. September, harvest time. Robert's yield is disappointing. 60 bushels per acre below projection, still profitable, but not the home run he expected. James harvests too. His yield is exactly what he projected, consistent, reliable. Robert sees James at the grain elevator. They're both selling corn. How'd you do? Robert asks. Right on target, you? Below projection. The drought hurt. It did. But next year you'll know better. You'll adjust. It's not gloating. It's just fact. Robert feels that unfamiliar feeling again. The farmer is being kind, not superior, just kind. Robert can't help himself. Pulls out his phone. Calls his brother in Shanghai. Speaks in Mandarin. First year farming. Learned a lot. But I'm surrounded by these old farmers who don't understand scale, don't understand business. They farm like it's 1950. It's frustrating watching inefficiency. James loads his grain truck, preparing to leave. Robert continues. The guy next to me right now, nice enough, but he's part of the problem. Small thinking, small operation. Agriculture needs to modernize or die. James closes his truck gate, walks over. Robert's still on the phone, still speaking Mandarin, still assuming privacy. James waits, polite, not interrupting. Robert finishes his call, looks at James. Sorry, had to take that. What's up? James looks at him, that same expressionless look from months ago, then speaks, in Mandarin, flawless Mandarin. I understood every word you just said, and your pronunciation is terrible. Robert freezes. James continues, still in Mandarin. I speak 4 languages, Mandarin, Spanish, English, German, learned Mandarin in the Air Force, spent 3 years in Taiwan, been fluent for 40 years. Robert's face does that white thing. I didn't know. James switches to English. You assumed. You've been assuming since March. Assuming I'm uneducated because I farm. Assuming I'm backward because I use old equipment. Assuming I'm ignorant because I don't use your methods. Mr. Sullivan, I apologize. I don't want apologies. I want you to understand something. James leans against his truck. I have a master's degree in agricultural science from Iowa State. I speak 4 languages. I've consulted for the USDA. I've published research on soil conservation. I've forgotten more about farming than you'll learn in 10 years. Robert can't speak. Literally can't form words. But you looked at my old equipment and assumed I was stupid. You heard me speak simple English and assumed I was uneducated. You saw my traditional methods and assumed I was behind the times. Yes, I did. Why? Robert thinks about that, really thinks, because I judged books by covers, because I assumed wealth equals intelligence, because I thought modern technology trumps experience. And because I'm arrogant, because I wanted to feel superior, because I needed to believe I was smarter than the people around me. James nods slowly. That's honest. I respect honest. They stand there, the grain elevator running in the background, September afternoon sun. Mr. Sullivan, I've been a complete ass. You have. Can I buy you dinner? Actually, listen this time. James considers. Thursday, Cooper's Steakhouse, 7 o'clock. And Robert? Yes? In the future, assume people understand you, all languages, all times, makes you a better person. Thursday comes. Robert shows up early, nervous. James arrives exactly at 7. They sit. Order. Tell me about Taiwan, Robert says. James does. Talks about his Air Force years, about learning Mandarin, about understanding culture. Why'd you come back to Iowa to farm? Because this land is mine, my grandfather's land, my father's land, now mine, someday my daughter's land. You could make more money doing something else. Money's not everything. Says someone who has enough. Says someone who knows what matters. They talk for 3 hours about farming, about culture, about assumptions. Robert learns more in 3 hours than he learned in 6 months. James, I need help. I'm failing at this farming thing. You're not failing, you're learning. Big difference. Will you teach me? James thinks about that. What are you willing to learn? Everything, anything, how to actually farm instead of just operating equipment. That's a good answer. They start meeting. Every week. James teaches, Robert learns, not just technique, philosophy, approach, understanding. Why do you use old equipment? Robert asks one day. Because it works. Because I can fix it myself. Because I own it, not the bank. But new equipment is more efficient. Efficient at what? Making money for the dealer. Making me dependent on technology I can't repair. Efficient isn't always better. Robert's mind shifts, reframes. You're saying my $500,000 tractor might be a liability? I'm saying it might be. Depends on your goals. You want to impress people or make money? Make money. Then maybe reassess what you need versus what looks good. Robert does reassess. Sell some equipment. Pays off debt, simplifies operation. His second year is better, not perfect, but better, because he's learning. Actually learning. The town talks. The rich California guy became humble, taking advice from local farmers, working like a regular person. Some respect it. Some think he's playing dress-up. Some wait to see if it lasts. Robert doesn't care. He's focused on learning. One day he's working on his tractor, broken hydraulic line. Trying to fix it himself instead of calling a dealer. James drives by, stops. Need help? I'm trying to figure it out. James looks. points to the problem. There, fitting's cracked. Need to replace it, not patch it. I don't have the right fitting. I do. Hold on. James comes back with the part. They fix it together. James, why are you helping me? After everything I said. James wipes his hands on a rag. Because you're learning. Because you're trying. Because people deserve second chances when they're genuine about changing. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not. But I'm giving it anyway. That's what neighbors do. Robert understands then. Really understands. It's not about who's smarter, who's richer, who's more modern. It's about community, respect, helping each other succeed. Years pass. Robert becomes a real farmer, not a hobbyist, not a gentleman farmer, a real one. His operation is profitable now, not because of technology. Because of knowledge, because of James's teaching, because of community support. The old equipment he once mocked, he owns some now, keeps it running, uses it alongside the modern stuff. Different tools for different jobs, he tells visiting friends. Sometimes old is better. His California friends don't understand, think he's gone native, think he's wasted his potential. Robert doesn't care. He's found something more valuable than money, purpose, community, respect. James is 70 now, slowing down. His daughter Rachel is taking over the farm. Robert helps, returns the favor, teaches Rachel what James taught him. You've come a long way, Rachel says one day. Your father taught me. I was an arrogant fool. Were, Robert laughs. Fair. I'm still arrogant sometimes, but I'm a learning fool now. That's better than a know-it-all fool. They work together, different farms, different styles, same respect. The town accepts Robert now, not as the rich outsider, as Robert. The farmer who learned humility. He speaks at the county extension office sometimes, about his journey, about assumptions, about what he learned, always mentions James, always credits his teacher. I came here thinking money and technology were enough, learned they're not even close to enough. Wisdom matters, experience matters, respect matters most of all. People listen, some learn, some don't. Robert doesn't worry about the ones who don't. He worried about the ones who do. That's what James taught him. Focus on what you can influence, let go of what you can't. The Mandarin incident is famous now. Local legend, the time Robert Chen insulted James Sullivan in Chinese and got answered in perfect Mandarin. People still laugh about it. Robert laughs too. Best thing that ever happened to me. Taught me to never assume, never underestimate, never think wealth equals wisdom. James just smiles, says nothing. But sometimes, when they're working together, Robert will say something in Mandarin, and James will respond. Perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar. Reminding Robert, gently, that assumptions cost more than money. They cost respect, understanding, truth. And Robert's grateful for the lesson, for the humiliation, for the teacher who cared enough to correct him. Some lessons can't be bought, can only be earned. Robert earned his, in a grain elevator parking lot, in the language he thought was private. The reply came in flawless Mandarin, and everything changed. Robert tells the story now, to anyone who'll listen, not to glorify himself, to warn others. Don't assume, he says. That's the lesson. Don't assume education, intelligence, or capability based on appearance, equipment, or lifestyle. Young farmers listen. Tech entrepreneurs turned farmers listen. Anyone who comes to rural America thinking they know better. Robert's become an advocate for respecting traditional knowledge, for learning from experience, for humility over arrogance. James finds it amusing. You've made a career out of being humiliated in Mandarin, he jokes. Best career move I ever made. They're sitting on James's porch, evening, watching fields, like they do most weeks now. Robert, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you regret buying that farm, coming here? Robert thinks about that, really considers. No, best decision I ever made. I was miserable in California, rich but empty. This place gave me purpose. You could have found purpose without the humiliation. Could have, but wouldn't have. I needed my ass kicked, needed to be wrong, needed to learn I didn't know everything. James nods. We all need that lesson. Most of us get it gentler than you did. You could have been gentler. Could have told me privately you spoke Mandarin. I could have. But would you have learned? Probably not. That's why I waited. Waited until you dug your hole deep enough that climbing out would change you. Robert laughs, bitter but appreciative. You're a strategic teacher. I'm a father, taught my kids the same way. Let them fail safely. Let them learn from consequences. They sit in comfortable silence. Friends now. Teacher and student, equals. Robert's daughter visits sometimes. She's 12. Learning Mandarin in school. She practices with James. He corrects her pronunciation. Tells her stories about Taiwan. Mr. Sullivan, you're a better teacher than my actual Mandarin teacher. Your teacher works from books. I learned by living. Different kind of knowledge. Which is better? Both are necessary. Books give you grammar. Life gives you usage. You need both. Robert watches them. Feels grateful his daughter has James as a mentor, better than having Robert as her only example, better than learning everything from someone who had to learn humility the hard way. The farm prospers now. Robert's operation, not spectacular, not impressive, just solid, profitable every year, sustainable, part of the community. That's success, real success, not the flashy kind, the lasting kind. James's daughter Rachel takes over more responsibility. James steps back, enjoys semi-retirement. Robert helps Rachel when she needs it. She helps him. Mutual support. Your dad changed my life, Robert tells her one day. He has that effect, changed mine too. Yi, how? Taught me that farming isn't just business. It's stewardship, responsibility, legacy. I'm still learning that. We all are. That's the point. We never stop learning. The county recognizes James at the Ag Appreciation Dinner, Lifetime Achievement Award, 45 years of service to agriculture. Robert attends, claps louder than anyone. James's speech is short, humble, thanks his family, his community, his students. Looks at Robert when he says students. Robert nods, acknowledges. After the ceremony, people congratulate James, share stories, express appreciation. Robert waits, lets everyone else go first. Finally, it's just them. Congratulations, James. Thank you. I owe you everything. You know that. You owe me nothing. You did the work. I just pointed directions. You did more than that. You taught me to be human again. James clasps Robert's shoulder. You taught yourself. I just created conditions for learning. They embrace, brief, masculine, meaningful. Two men from completely different worlds, connected by humility, teaching, and Mandarin. The story spreads beyond Iowa. Agriculture journals write about it. Podcasts discuss it. It becomes a parable about assumptions, about humility, about respecting knowledge wherever it comes from. Robert's asked to speak at conferences. He does. Always brings James. Always shares the stage. This man humiliated me in Mandarin in a grain elevator parking lot. Best thing that ever happened to me. James adds, this man was arrogant enough to insult someone in a foreign language, standing right in front of them, and humble enough to learn from it. That's rare. The audiences relate. Everyone's been arrogant. Everyone's been humbled. Not everyone learns. That's the difference. Robert learned. The farming continues. Seasons turn. Crops grow. Equipment breaks and gets fixed. Robert still uses some modern technology, but also old methods, blends them. What would you have told yourself 7 years ago? Someone asks at a conference. Listen more, assume less, respect experience, and never insult anyone in any language. You never know who understands. People laugh, but they hear the truth underneath. James is 75 now, still sharp, still working some, still teaching. His legacy isn't just his farm, it's the farmers he influenced. Robert, Rachel, dozens of others. Knowledge passed down, wisdom shared, community built. That's what matters. That's what lasts. Robert's 50 now, grey in his beard, lines around his eyes, looks like a farmer. Is a farmer, finally, really, not playing dress-up, not hobby farming, actually farming, and grateful every day for the humiliation that led to transformation, for the reply that came in flawless Mandarin, for the teacher who cared enough to let him fail publicly so he could succeed privately. That's the story. That's the truth. A rich man insulted a farmer in Mandarin. The farmer replied in perfect Mandarin. Everything changed, not because of the languages, because of the lesson. Respect isn't earned by wealth, it's earned by humility. Knowledge isn't displayed by equipment, it's demonstrated by wisdom. Community isn't built by impressing people, it's built by serving them. Robert learned all of that, in a parking lot, in Mandarin, from a man he'd underestimated for months, and that learning made all the difference. The reply came in flawless Mandarin. And a rich man became a real farmer. Years later, a documentary crew comes to Cedar County. They're filming a series about modern agriculture, about the clash between tradition and technology. They want to interview Robert and James, tell their story. Robert agrees immediately. James is reluctant. I don't need attention, James says. It's not about attention, Robert argues. It's about teaching. You're always teaching. Let this be teaching on a bigger scale. James considers, finally agrees. The filming takes 3 days. They interview both men separately, together, on their farms, at the grain elevator where it happened. The director asks Robert to recreate the moment. Can you repeat what you said in Mandarin, the insulting parts? Robert hesitates. I'd rather not. Those words embarrass me now. But they're part of the story. They're part of who I was, not who I am. The director respects that, changes approach. Tell us what you learned instead. Robert does. For 20 minutes, about assumptions, about humility, about transformation. The camera captures everything, the weathered hands, the grey beard, the genuine regret and gratitude. They interview James next. Ask him why he waited so long to reveal he spoke Mandarin. Because immediate correction teaches nothing. Robert needed to commit fully to his arrogance, needed to expose it completely. Only then would the correction matter. That's a risky teaching strategy. All real teaching is risky. Safe teaching produces safe results. Robert needed transformation, not information. The documentary airs on PBS, gets attention, awards, recognition, but more importantly, it teaches, reaches people, changes minds. Robert gets emails, hundreds of them, from people who saw themselves in his story, who recognized their own arrogance, who wanted to change. He answers every one, personally. Thank you for sharing. Here's what I learned. Here's how I changed. Here's why it mattered. Some people visit, come to Iowa, want to meet James, want to learn. James welcomes them always, teaches anyone willing to learn. Why do you do this? A visitor asks. Share your knowledge so freely? Because knowledge hoarded is knowledge wasted. Because I was taught freely. Because community requires generosity. Simple answer. Profound truth. Robert's operation is fully integrated now. Modern technology where it helps. Traditional methods where they work better. Wisdom guiding everything. Profitable, sustainable, respectable. He employs local people, pays well, teaches constantly, became what he once mocked, a real farmer, a community member, a contributor. The irony isn't lost on him. I came here to show these farmers how it's done. Ended up learning how it's actually done. Pride before fall, literally. James finds that funny. You weren't the first rich outsider to learn that lesson. Won't be the last. But I might be the one who learned it in the most languages. They laugh. Old friends, teacher and student, equals who respect each other's knowledge. The farms continue. Seasons turn. Equipment runs. Crops grow. Nothing dramatic. Just consistent work. Consistent results. Consistent community. That's the real story. Not the Mandarin moment, that was just the catalyst. The real story is the daily choice. To respect, to learn, to contribute. Robert makes that choice every day. For 12 years now, still makes mistakes, still has moments of arrogance, still needs correction, but he's teachable now, humble enough to listen, wise enough to know he doesn't know everything. That's transformation, real transformation. Not a moment, a process. Ongoing, endless. The Mandarin reply started it. The daily work sustains it, and that's everything. A rich man learned humility in a foreign language. From a farmer he'd underestimated. The lesson cost him nothing but pride. Gained him everything that matters. Community, respect, purpose, wisdom. That's the trade, pride for wisdom. Robert made it, would make it again, every time, because the reply came in flawless Mandarin, and everything changed.